welcome to another episode of Conversation with a Chef. I'm Jo Ritty, and I love sharing with you the conversations I get to have with talented and passionate chefs. It's the backstory, if you will, to the food they're putting up. I begin today by acknowledging the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, traditional custodians of the land where this conversation takes place, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Today I'm chatting to Michael Smith from Hubert Estate. I'd spoken to Michael for a Broadsheet article about Hubert Estate in the Yarra Valley, and I knew then that I needed to hear more. Michael has worked at a number of excellent places over the years, and the way he talks about the food he's putting up at quarters at Hubert Estate is wonderful. I haven't had a chat to a chef in a while, and the thing I love about these conversations is that they really are conversations, and I'm genuinely fascinated about how the chefs became chefs and what their thoughts are on various subjects related to food and hospitality. Michael absolutely came up with the goods. I loved this conversation and very happily meandered through his own career, but also through some ideas around authenticity, wellbeing in the industry, and what to do with critics. I was thinking when I was driving here, so you're executive chef of here, so over the top. So is it Nagambie in Mitchelton as well?
So Nagambie and Mitchelton. Yeah, so Dan Hawkins runs Nagambie Brewery and Distillery, as well as Mitchelton Estate. I've been hired to do Hubert Estate, to open Hubert Estate, which Dan helped with the planning and all that process before I started. Once I've come on board, he's been able to go back to his two babies. I suppose we got set up, we opened Quarters Restaurant, we've got Harriet, the event space, which is ready to go. Bit slower lead time for those ones. We've had a few functions. Next month and two, they sort of start picking up. Daniel Cooper, our executive chef here at the Prince, was wanting to take a leave of absence to go travelling.
I see.
Through the conversation with the owners and the boss, they've decided that they will keep his position open for him for possibly 3 to 4 months. So they've asked, with us having just opened Hubert and the event space not being crazy yet and the hotel not being built yet, I've got a little bit of freedoms that I can come and help here.
Okay.
So it's sort of being pulled. I'm being pulled between the two places when they're required. And I sort of set myself a day or two that I need to do my things. But otherwise, But otherwise,
I would have thought, that Hubert Estate on its own would be.
Hubert's a beast, and it will be once it's definitely the biggest adventure I've taken on in my career. Just the sheer volume of what it will be once it's at its full potential. But as for net right now, it's Quarters. It's a very busy restaurant.
I just saw how many pizzas have you put through the oven already.
That's it's a rough estimate. But I reckon we're just shy of 10,000 in 3 months.
That's
900.
Seems like a lot of pizza.
800 or 900 a week.
Really?
And on the weekends we're doing around almost 500 people on a Saturday or Sunday. So, when we do 400 or 500 on a Saturday, Sunday, we're doing close to 300 pizzas, which is crazy. So
it's a lot of wood to it.
Well, I mean, we've got the top of the line Marana pizza oven. So it is gas thermostat controlled. So we light a fire in. It's got a wood belly in one side. Because it has the electric turntable. It's got it's unbelievable. It is gas, electric, and wood. So we light the fire in the fire section. The gas, there's a gas element underneath the base, so it keeps the base giving the pizzas a nice crust. That's like a little turbo boost. You only use it every now and then. And then it's got a gas thermostat to make sure it stays hot enough with the fire.
Sure.
So it's pretty amazing.
That is amazing.
It is, yeah.
And it's so I love that colour, that sort of...
The dome. It's beautiful.
It's the dome, but just the coppery...
Copper coin looking...
It's beautiful. It is. Smells so delicious in there, but you're also cooking other things over...
Yes,
wood
red gum and coal as well. So we've got our char grill. It's a dual char grill, hand wind, so you can adjust the heights on it. And one of them's got a little hot box oven over the top of it as well.
Did you cooked with over fire before?
Yes and yeah, very much so. But I'm just trying to think. we used to do it quite dodgy back in the early 2000s by throwing coal in our grill to get the flavour burning through it. It was a little bit dodgy, but it got the effect. From there, I definitely graduated into cooking over coal and wood. After my time at actually innocent bystander back out in Hillsville, I was an innocent bystander only for about a year. After my time there, I went and turned this little venue in Ivanhoe into a smokehouse steakhouse.
Oh, what was that
it's
called?
Not there anymore.
Yeah.
But it was the Ivanhoe Steakhouse.
Okay.
It was an old RSL style venue, and the owners wanted to flip it on its head and do top end steaks and top end smoked meats and stuff. We had an amazing 300 kilo smoker out the back, so we could slow smoke, and we also had the char grill, which was what was it called? It slipped my mind. It was imported from Spain. And it was rotisserie style and had a massive char grill, which is hydraulic. That was quite amazing. I think that cost us about $90,000 to purchase, and another $30,000 to get it over here.
Wow.
It was pretty amazing. That adventure was a bit short-lived. They didn't really look into their clientele base and ended up changing their mind on the direction they were going.
You're right.
So it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
That was a few years ago, though.
Yeah. You've been in a few places, in a lot of great places. And I was going to say, you've been around a while, you've been a chef for a while.
I don't want it to sound like I jump in and out. My tenures are usually 3-5 years.
That's pretty normal though, isn't it, for chefs?
I think as you get a bit older, when you're younger, I wouldn't want an apprentice to stay with me for longer than a year, because I think they just need to let their experience get a good base of experience. As you get it up into a chef de partie and junior sous roles, you hope that those people are there for a year or two, because you invest in training them and getting the business to a point where it can cater to what we're doing. And then, you hope that your senior sous and head chefs are there for, I would hope, 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
After that, they can sometimes get a little bit stale if the business doesn't have something else to offer them.
Yeah.
I've been around though.
and I was thinking too, and this is just a thought that occurred to me as I was driving over here, so it's not a properly formulated thought at all. But so I've just written a bit for Broadsheet. I've just written about Chinese-ish, which is Rasheen Calls from Etta and Joanna Hu's book, and they're writing about their experience of growing up in Australia, and so but they pointedly say it's non-authentic. And I was thinking about this whole authenticity thing because with chefs, like you've cooked Mexican, kind of Indian fusion, French, you're doing Italian. So this question of authenticity, like what do you think about?
Look, I think growing up in Australia that's a loaded question. There's so much to unpack there. I think growing up in Australia, when I did, it became very multicultural very quickly in the 70s and 80s. I was in the northern suburbs, boy, and it was all European expats, immigrants and so on. And so I was surrounded by Turkish all the way through Italy. Obviously, Italy and Greece was a big part of what came over in those times. But Yugoslavia, in my neighbourhood, we had all sorts, and so I loved the food. I think, I loved their food so much because it was so interesting compared to what my mum cooked.
Yeah.
And God forbid if she listens to this, but she wasn't the greatest cook. And my parents are from Kiwis, so I'm an import as well. I was born here though, but they're Aussies
me,
now.
I grew up in the 70s in New Zealand. And my mum wasn't a good cook either.
They're not. She's not the greatest cook.
She had her meals.
Exactly. Mum had a couple of meals. There was a kai si min, which I look back now and I go, how did we call that kai si min?
It's a big bowl. I mean, really.
But sort of going back to it, that I think my approach to food and my love for food is that I love looking into cuisines that I don't know anything about, I don't know much about. Some people will when I went for the job at Mamsita, I knew nothing about Mexican except that I love tacos. And my wife said to me, you're an idiot. You don't know anything about Mexican. How are you going to... I said, I can run a kitchen. They need someone to run a kitchen.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to go there and learn as much as I can about Mexican food.
Yeah.
And I'll put all my time and effort into learning the cuisine, and then I put my Michael Aussie spin on it, using, great Australian produce, but with, Mexican techniques. And we import as much. I was responsible for bringing like 8 or 9 different chilies in from Mexico that weren't here before, because we were looking. I went to Mexico, actually. I was lucky enough to go to Mexico when I was at Mamsita, and I thought I knew chili. I thought I loved chili, but when I went over there, I found out that there was a whole world of chili that I didn't know anything about.
Yeah.
Spicy chilies, yes, and the way you can cook with it in Asian food and get the chili to, develop its flavour differently, so that it's not just hot, was what I thought I knew how to do. But then when I went to Mexico, I found chilies that were bitter and chilies that were just smoky and not really spicy at all, and some chilies that when you cooked with them, they were really warming and they made onions taste differently, and I was blown away by it. And so I worked with Casa Iberica and another supplier up in Sydney as well. I worked really hard with them to try and get them to bring other chilies in, and they were like, "Oh, no one wants them." I'm like, "They will once we start buying them." We had Posilla, obviously the chipotle and stuff like that, but we were bringing in these tiny little chilies. What was it called? Oh, forgive me, it's a few years now. Casabel and stuff like that. There were ones that were referred to as like a dummy. They looked like a child's dummy, but you didn't want to suck on it. They were really, really spicy.
Yeah.
So I think, back to the question, I just love getting into the cuisines, really sort of paying homage to it and learning about how they got there is the part that I like to spend the first few months on. And then after that, I pull them apart. I like to make them my own a little bit.
And that's what I wonder sometimes too, that obviously, I mean, if you're saying you're cooking a certain cuisine, and you're respectful to it and you've found out about it, and there is a certain way that you need to do that. But I think it's interesting because a lot of dishes were born out of necessity or what was around them. And so nowadays when some chefs are cooking a cuisine but using local ingredients, and I think that's an interesting idea as well. So when we talk about fusion, is that now redundant? Because isn't it all kind of fusion now?
I don't like the word fusion.
No one does.
I think it was because I was a chef in the early 90s when fusion went extreme and got the extreme slap that it needed as well. We took it too far and we used the word fusion, and it had a negative trend to it or spin to it. I think it's definitely a fusion of two cultures, forgive me, what is the Australian culture? I don't know. I've born and lived here for 43 years, and I don't know what I would call Australian culture when it comes to food. So we just adapt, I do. I love finding out and bringing in what we can do from other countries and other cuisines, and if you end up making something that offends someone from that cuisine, then I hope that they see it for what it is. But otherwise, I try to pay homage to. I think Mamsita definitely and Tonka were two places where I really tried to do that. Where at Tonka, I had to have a couple of really good Indian chefs with me there to bring me back to Indian food, because we were going a bit crazy, and I was making a beef rib vindaloo, where we made a really loose vindaloo style stock, braised the beef in it, and then used that stock to make a vindaloo sauce, and then I just char grilled the beef and put the sauce back over it, and everyone was like, what are we doing? But then we served it with a smoked yogurt, and it all came together on the plate. And then the chefs came to me and they said, we would normally use one guy, Ved. He was one of my best chefs that I've ever worked with. He, with his flavour and his taste profile, he came and he's like, I can't work out what we serve this with. It's not something we would do in India. I said, well, what would you do if there was a nice warming beef curry that's like this one? They said, maybe a cucumber salad. I said, let's play with it. And I needed some pickles, so I went and we made some pickled red onion. And then he's like, when you plate something like this in the kitchen, it needs to be kind of fast. He's like, it needs a tempering dressing. And I was like, what's a tempering dressing? And as we heat up the vegetable oil with a little bit of mustard seed oil in it, you throw mustard seeds in, and then you build from whatever you want from there, like curry leaves, turmeric, fenugreek seeds. And we made this little tempering, and we poured it over the salad last second and tossed it around. It was a step that you didn't need to do. You could have just made a dressing, but we just really brought it back into what he thought was an Indian cuisine. And dishes like that really, I stood there proud that we'd created something that he was proud to serve as an Indian dish.
Yeah,
that really wasn't Indian,
and that you were open to. That's right. That you were open. And
it's only when you work with someone like that. I did the same with Mexican, but I went to Mexico to learn there, and our general manager and one of our owners there, Matt and Nick, those guys are just all about Mexico and all about South America, really. And they sort of helped me do that there. I didn't really have that Mexican influence in the kitchen as such. Yeah.
And then I'm interested because I feel like when you learn to be a chef in Western countries, you learn French technique.
Yeah, as your base.
Yeah. And then I've always thought that French cooking, as incredible and high as it is, that it's been quite strict. But
yeah.
Is that changing, do you think?
Yeah, I don't want to be the guy that says it, but yeah, it is. It definitely is.
I sort of follow, restaurants in France, and there are certainly some that are, really pushing boundaries and going away, moving away from this.
I think that we've all held French cuisine and French techniques, as the highest accolade for what we can do. But I think we're all finding, as we all explore other cuisines in more depth, that there's the same relevance to the way you do something in French as the way you might do something in Thai, or the way look at Thai cuisine, and Dave Thompson's book is phenomenal. The first one, the pink, I used to call it my Bible. I almost say the Bible automatically called Thai food, and the way he dived into that cuisine and what he found out about that cuisine, it put it right up there with, for me, in my chef's heart, with the techniques that you can learn from French cooking, and the foundation that can give a chef, having the proper understanding of why and what you do, or what you do and why you're doing it. So I'm still old. I'm old enough to know that, or to be, it was trained into me that you should always have that good foundation of French cuisine to understand how to cook in general. So that's still in there somewhere, but I think it's slowly dissipating to really giving respect to the cuisines and understanding why they do things the way they do them, to really understand what you can do from there afterwards. Yeah.
And you had 5 years in Jacques Reymond?
Just shy of Jacques. 5 years at Jacques.
Whereabouts in your career was that?
So I was only 24, I think. Wow. I was quite young. When I started there. Looking back, I think I was quite young, maybe 23 actually.
And you're head chef there, is that right?
Well, I started as sous chef. Yeah. I was over in Perth just before that, and my now wife, we were over there together working at a place over there I don't really talk about that much. But we'd finished up there and we were heading back to Melbourne. We're both from Melbourne. We were heading back to Melbourne after almost 3 years over there. And I thought to myself, that was my first sort of sous chef role, really. And I thought to myself, I didn't know anything. I just knew what I knew. And I took that moment, I was like, I need to step back a little bit and learn some more. And I thought, after the 2 years being that sous chef in that restaurant, I was like, I didn't know enough. And I thought, all right, when I come back, I've got to go to some of the greats and just do grind my teeth in the kitchen and learn a bit more before I go back into a sous chef role. And we were literally travelling across the Nullarbor, and we stopped somewhere in... Oh no, it wasn't until we got back here, because we picked up the old Tuesday Age, which had the espresso lift out. That was the only way chefs found out about anything back then.
Really?
There was no, there was no Instagram. There was no foodie podcasts, and all that. We literally had to wait till Tuesday before we could find a job as a chef. They had the espresso lift out then, and I found that Jacques was advertising. And so I applied there, and I applied at Vue de Monde. I rang Vue de Monde, and it was Monday, and they were closed. That was back when they only had their little shop in Carlton, their first venture. They were closed, but Jacques was closed as well. It was a Monday when I called him, sorry. And Jacques answered. He said, "Oh, come in on Tuesday, and we'll give you a trial." I said, "Okay." And so I've said that all around the wrong way. I didn't actually read the espresso at that time. I just rang a few places.
Okay.
And it was on a Monday, and then on the Tuesday I was on my way in there, and my wife went out to get the espresso so she could look for a job, because she's a chef as well. And she rang me. She's like, "Do you know what job you're going for?" I'm like, No. So I just rang, and that was where I wanted to go. She's like, "They're advertising today for a sous chef." And I was like, it wasn't really what I wanted. It wasn't what I thought I wanted. But I loved it. I got in there, and I found out there was more than 2 types of seaweed in the world. And I realised how much I could learn there.
Yeah.
Jacques, while be it very, very, very French,
yes.
Himself, his cuisine isn't. It's this melting pot of Australian cultured driven, and he loves Japanese and Southeast Asian influence, right. But it's all done with a French technique, which sounds like you want to shoot yourself in the head, but it is his mind and his background that gives him his drive to try and lift Australian cuisine to where he has. He was one of the first to do degustation food here, and that style of dining, fine dining, degustation, back in the early 90s. Like, I don't know how he was able to, get it through to the keeper, but he did. But yes, and it was that Southeast Asian thing that I think I was most excited about when I started there. Using mirin and sake and 3 different types of soy sauce, and then the other side of the coin was he wasn't shy to throw in white balsamic when he was making a dressing that had soy in it, like, because of he just rode and drove by his palate. So I was applying for a job there, but I ended up getting the sous chef role there, which was some of the best and worst times of my career. It was very, very, very stressful. The first couple of years, I think the culture in the kitchen was one that I wasn't used to. It was quite... I hadn't been in a fine dining restaurant. I hadn't been in a restaurant at that level before. I'd worked in a hatted restaurant, but not 3 hats. And I think I was naive to what that was. I didn't know it. I was out of my depth for a little while, and I was anxiety ridden, and but also using that to fuel. I think I have this healthy level of anxiety for being a chef. Like, if you don't have that, you're not going to keep challenging yourself, or you're not going to keep questioning yourself. But it got a little bit shaky there for a little while with, Jacques' standards were very high. I learned there that, a critic that was coming in there wasn't looking to come and have an amazing time. They were coming to look for fault. I felt back then it was certain critics that would come through just to try and be the person that would write something where they found a fault. And Jacques lived his life at that stress level of every single diner could cause him to lose a hat. He didn't stand there with the 3 hats on his chest like it was a badge, but he definitely wanted to keep them as to keep his stature in what he was trying to achieve in his cuisine. I've never heard of anyone speak of their cuisine. Like, it wasn't a Italian cuisine, it wasn't a Greek cuisine, it was Jacques' cuisine.
Right.
Yeah, and what he was doing, it was something so strange. But it was very instrumental for me, and it was a crazy building block that I definitely would do again. But it was a difficult time as well.
Oh, it sounds like it. Yeah.
Grueling.
And many chefs wouldn't make it through that.
We had people come and go pretty quickly through there. Which is sad.
If you do make it through, then you can look back and be thankful.
You
for
should
that
be
time,
better for
but
it. You hope.
Yeah.
It's difficult, and I'm not saying that the place was there was no one that was mean there. It was just a strict level that was required.
Yes.
Every day, every moment. Imagine trying to be at your best every time you walk in the kitchen,
Yeah.
every time you pick up the knife, every time you
which
cook
is still
something.
the case now. You want to be
course.
at your best, but I know when I came and I've spoken to both Dans here.
Yeah.
And they talked about how important wellbeing was for the group, and I really liked hearing that, and so that there were smoothies at the end of the night rather than knock-off drinks. I'm sometimes still knock-off drinks, but but you know, just you're being really open with talking about well-being and looking after each other and making sure people aren't so anxiety driven. I think so, and I hope so.
Yeah, and I have loved that about this group. As I said, I only started with these guys with Hubert, so 6 months almost to the day at the moment, and I think that their approach to their business, while at the heart of it they're hospitality and for a customer, they're also hospitality for their staff.
Yeah, which I think...
and showing each other that respect. And when I say respect, I don't mean you respect them by saying hello every morning. I mean respect by looking out for them and making sure that they have what they need, so they can do their job to the best, but also to make sure they're for their well-being.
Well, it's about the sustainability of the person as much as sustainability of, you know, products and the planet, and you know, really it's all it's important, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's interesting you're talking about, you know, the critics coming in, and I'd like to think there's on one hand there's a slight shift, because I think, for example, writing for Broadsheet, I don't give ratings. I feel like most Broadsheet articles, we're talking about the place kind of showing rather than telling and not making a judgment. It's kind of like, this is the experience we had, this is what we've seen. And I think for my non-journalist, you know, like I didn't train to be a food writer, but I love eating out and I've honed my writing skills.
Made a life out of it.
I think that's really important, and I mean, obviously there's a place, and some of the top food critics are incredible and their writing is incredible. I don't have to give a rating. I don't have to be critical.
Be that.
Because everyone's experience is different. But I think now that everyone has access to the internet, everyone's a critic, and people very quickly jump on and talk about a bad experience or what could, you know, and maybe there's room for that. But I mean, how much store do chefs place on the average punter that comes in and then jumps on the internet? Do you worry about those things? Or?
Yeah, of course. I mean, as a business, I think probably once I hit Mamsita, prior to Mamsita, at Jacques, we weren't looking at the reviews and stuff like that. When I say reviews, I mean like of the general public. We're obviously watching and trying to do our best to get the great reviews from all the writers, but it wasn't like today where you have the Yelp or what was Zomato and what's it called, the travel one, TripAdvisor and stuff like that, where you have everyone doing reviews every day. And it does affect your click flow on the internet, and it affects where people do research these days, where they want to go and eat. You don't just drive and land somewhere. So all those 4 stars and 4.5 stars, it does mean a lot to a business at the end of the day. So you have to be able to look at what's going on there. And I think even back from Mamsita, we always, at our weekly meeting, there was the discussion around wages, there was the discussion around food costs and cost of goods in the bar, and then there was a big discussion around staff, and then there was always a discussion around what was happening in our online presence. And there was some things, and I hope the audience out there understand this, but there's some things we drew a line through, like this is our business, and if they didn't quite get that, they didn't quite understand that, that's really with them. And then there were other things that were like, wow, we really didn't want that experience for our customers, and we reach back out to those people and we give them an explanation, an apology, and invite them back in, and hope that we can fix those problems. That was a big drive at Mamsita, and I love that culture behind it as well. And it's the same with these guys here, with the Ryan Hospitality guys out at Hubert Estate. We are doing something a bit different out there. Our level of food, I think, is high in quality, but it's also a fast-paced environment, so it's not finicky and it's not fully worked. We are in a super duper brand new shiny vessel, which is a restaurant, and so people come in there and they've got an idea of what they're going to experience, but our service is very casual in that room. It's a big turnover. It's a 220-seater plus outdoor seating. We could sit almost 300 people at a time.
Yeah.
So therefore, the service isn't at a high level.
It's what it is. So nice when I was out there, and I thought there was a lot of floor staff.
And there is, because it's a busy place.
Yeah, which is great.
We want to be able to provide the service that is required, but it's not table service. You'll see that there's a communal area where you can get sparkling and tap water on tap. Tap water, sparkling and still on tap. Where you can help yourselves. That's also where you get your own cutlery and your serviettes and your share plates. You can order on QR code, which is a positive for some people, but a negative for others. And the reason I'm bringing it up is when we go to those reviews and someone didn't like the problems that they encounter with technology and QR codes, we draw a line through that one, because that is the systems that we're putting in place, and that's what we're trying to do out there. And it all comes down to the cost of business these days. Food prices going through the roof. Finally, staff are being paid correctly, but that comes at a cost to the business. So our model is a little less waiters everywhere that you look. It's a lot more systems in place to make sure everything still works and the customer still gets what they want, but achieving it with a slightly lower wage cost to try and make the business viable. If I gave you $4 million or $3 million and you could invest it in an investment portfolio with someone, you might make 10-12% annually. Given 100%, you'll make that guaranteed. If you gave it to me and I opened a restaurant, I could promise you 5%. It might be 8%. You probably wouldn't see 10%, not for 5 to 10 years.
No.
It's not a business that you get into to make money.
No.
It's a business when you get into when hospitality is at your heart.
And clearly it is with you, because you still, when I talk to you about quarters and about the food and so on, you were so enthusiastic, which is so great, because you've been doing it a while. What made you get into being a chef in the first place? Because sometimes it's interesting, because people talk about growing up with food, and then other people talk about, their mum wasn't a good cook. So what?
I've been quoted as saying it before. I don't know how much truth there is to it. I feel sometimes I became a chef because my mum wasn't a great cook. No, I think it was a little bit by accident. I don't mean to say I was a lazy kid, but I wasn't driven when I was 15. I was in year 9 doing the work placement that you used to do back then for 2 weeks. I'm not sure if they still do it now.
Doing year 10 now, but yeah.
We used to get paid $5 a day.
Wow.
As the minimum, but it was only if you wanted to pay them. You didn't have to.
Okay.
It was a gesture if you liked. So I got $5 a day to clean a kitchen top to bottom. But I hadn't done anything about it, and my dad, who from time to time wasn't a drinker, but from time to time bet on the horses, and was at the local pub that had a TAB, and he was putting a bet on the horse, and the publican, who was a lovely guy, started chatting to him. He's like, "Oh, what's going on?" He's like, "Summit." My dad's a bit of a talker. I think that's where I get it from as well. And he starts talking to him about me being a lazy bugger who hadn't organised his work experience. And from there, I ended up in the kitchen there for doing my 2 weeks work experience. So I cleaned the kitchen from top to bottom and scrubbed all the fridges and door seals and washed a million dishes and peeled all the carrots and potatoes. It was just a local pub out in Whittlesea, which unfortunately is not there anymore. And yeah, at the end of it, I think I was on the second last day, and the kitchen were in the shit, and I walked into the kitchen bringing some dishes in, and I lifted up the fryers because the fryers were cooked. And the chef looked at me, he's like, "What'd you do?" I'm like, "Oh, they looked like they were ready." And I took them out. Yeah, he goes, "Stand there and put another basket in." And that was it. I was stuck in the kitchen from that moment of lifting the basket up. And I think the chef there was a Sri Lankan guy, one of the most humble, nicest chefs I'd ever worked with. And I think from that was where I started how I feel a kitchen should run, with humility and caring for your team, and then also teaching. He was a great teacher to me. Hope you're not listening, VJ, but he wasn't the greatest chef I've ever worked for, by no means.
Yeah.
He was a great chef, but he had a heart of gold.
Yeah.
And I think that, and then from there, he actually got me my next job, which was in a hatted restaurant, with a chef just like him. So I had 5 or 6 years. I did my whole apprenticeship at the pub, not knowing any better. from year 9, I worked there part-time while I was at high school till I finished VCE.
Yeah.
My mum was like, even though I said to Mum, I want to be a chef, I love food, I love cooking, I did all the cooking classes at school.
Yeah, wow.
Mum still said, you have to finish VCE and have something to fall back on if this isn't your thing. Yeah. So I finished VCE and then started my apprenticeship. I think, as I said, the 7 years working with these really genuinely nice chefs that were really all about training. They knew they had to train me to do the job, otherwise they were going to have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, all chefs understand that, but the way that they go about things aren't always the same way. If you get people on your side and you work, I think like managing a kitchen isn't about managing a kitchen, it's about managing your people. And everyone's different. And as soon as you understand that, you start building relationships with people, and you find how much more. And I don't mean to sound like in a nasty way, but how much more you can get out of people. You open them up to what they love and what they get excited by, and your staff improve and perform better. Yeah. And I've worked with people that aren't that nice throughout the years, and I've seen the response that they get from their staff, and it's a cold shoulder, and they walk out at the end of the day not caring about it. Where I find chefs that I've worked with, so many of them, even to today, will still ring me and say, "Chef, where are you at? I might come and work with you again soon." Like, you get that. I'm not chasing them to fill my kitchens, but the fact that they're still keeping in contact to want to, work with me again and see what we can do. Like, and it's what we can do.
Yeah, but that to me is hospitality, isn't it? You want it to permeate through. I want it to permeate through everything, and I like to think, when you're cooking, that you're cooking from a place of happiness and working together. Yeah.
But there's, to your point before about the staff, and the Dan and Dan were both saying it as well. There could be 1,000 points that a customer could see how the business behaves and get an opinion from it. And as long as, and that's the hard part for a business, to make sure that all those points of contact are all have the same language and the same, that people are getting the same feeling from it, and it's that warmth of hospitality that we try to do. So you've got to kind of have a no dickhead policy in your business when you start wanting to work with on your culture, not just your food. Because having great food from a great chef doesn't always come with a great culture, which can be sad at times. There's some of the best chefs out there in the world need a really solid head chef or senior sous chef that is all about culture and team, and it'll hold them together. And I've seen that in a couple of places where a chef might be an absolute arse, but he's got a fantastic second who brings his team together for him, and they achieve. It is interesting. No names.
And so, with all that in mind, what would your advice be to a young person who was thinking of becoming a chef now?
Oh, so many times I've said don't do it. And I think if you get discouraged and you still want to do it, then you're the one for it. I wouldn't discourage anyone. Anyone that had a love for food, I would tell them to start slower. Kind of like not saying you should follow in my footsteps, but kind of like where I did, where it wasn't such a fast-paced, crucial environment. Somewhere where you can get in and understand the pressures of service, because there's some pressure points in the business. There's obviously, once you get up to the finer end, when you're a head chef and sous chef, you're responsible for the financial outcomes. But the pressure points for a younger chef is being able to handle stress, being able to handle long hours standing up. Hopefully they're getting paid for those long hours these days, but long hours standing up and in that pressure environment where you may be working by yourself, and if you can't get out of your own head as well, like it would be really good to find that out earlier rather than later. Start slower and really make that decision after the first couple of years, because I think that there's some disgruntled chefs out there, and they're probably disgruntled because they don't like what they do. And you've ended up there because you've invested the time of your life where you think that's the only time that you have to learn a trade and do something. So many people have started being a chef later on in their life. These days I've got a couple of close friends that changed careers. One of them was a car salesman, high-end car salesman, not a dodgy car salesman that you think of when you hear car salesman. and he was in three figures before I was as a car salesman when I was the head chef at Jacques. And don't get me wrong, I was never earning three figures at Jacques. But he gave that all up for a chef apprenticeship. He travelled the world with it. He was the head chef of a couple of great restaurants here in Melbourne. And I think that he only made it through because of his love for the food and his passion for what he was doing. So for young people starting out, got to get inside your head and make sure that it's really something that you want to do. And if you ask yourself all the questions and it's still a yes, then get in, maybe start a bit softer. Don't try and get into the voux de monde. I'm not saying you can't do that. There's young kids that I know that have only worked in those high stress level places that have come out fine. Yeah. But they're, like you said before, they're the make or break places sometimes, and people won't last in there. Give yourself a chance. Get a mentor.
And get a mentor.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Good.
That was great.
No worries. Go easy.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Conversation with a Chef with Michael Smith from Hubert Estate. If you want to experience all the greatness for yourself, which of course you do, you can check out at Quarters Hubert Estate, all one word, or at Michael Smith Chef, also all one word, on Instagram. As for me, I'm also on Instagram at Conversation with a Chef. And if you want to read the chat, you can head to www.conversationwithachef.com. I would love it if you told a friend about my chats. And of course, you can follow me on Apple and Spotify podcasts. Once again, thanks for listening and have a great day.